Worcester, Massachusetts, which I think I'm saying that right, just had a city council meeting where some trans-identifying individuals and allies got together and pled their case of why they need a safe space in this town from the federal government. So let's see how that went.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
So I think we can all agree that the real problem that we have in this country is theater kids. And I think that we should defund high school theater departments across the country. This whole, I am a woman pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman, and I have a blue wig and I fear the wrath of Donald Trump. And if you do not provide me a safe space, I will rain terror down on your village. That needs to stop. We need to tone all of that down a lot. Also, the end there sounded like a threat, clearly, and I'm okay with threatening government officials. Really, I'm not saying that you should, I'm just saying that it's not really a big priority for me to look into. I don't care that much. But this just looks like a woman in a blue wig. I don't see where the transness is. Why is trans now just dressing up like a mime? Why are you so afraid of Trump? Is he going to come to your house and snatch all of your wigs? And maybe use them for himself? I don't know. Is he going to put you in a camp? Which may be some kind of facility for these people is not the worst idea because there's clearly some mental health issues going on in this group of people.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here.
Up, please?
I'm sorry, am I taking too long pleading for my life?
I'm literally shaking right now. I feel bad for people like this. I really do. It has to be miserable being so radicalized by these online echo chambers that they just feed off of each other's fears.
You remembered how many children I have and that 2 of them are trans.
What? So we have an old lady, purple hair, protect trans kids shirt, saying she has 2 trans kids. What are the odds of that? This is like some sort of Munchausen's by proxy. I actually have a half-sister who I'm not in contact with very much anymore for other reasons, but she's a radical leftist, kind of the same archetype of person as a lot of these people. A lot of unresolved trauma, some mental health issues that haven't been treated. So people like that tend to fall into these groups because they get a lot of attention and they get a lot of praise as long as they go along with the group. And that happens in right-wing circles as well. You could say that it happens in church, but this is kind of a religious thing. So my sister, she takes her kids to pride parades, she takes them to pro-choice or BLM rallies or whatever the new social justice thing going on is. And she has 2 non-binary kids, which apparently is the same thing as trans according to these people. There have been a lot of cases of young girls, which she has 2 girls that are non-binary, going to these gender clinics at a young age and receiving cross-sex hormones. Her kids were 9 and 12 when they initially came out as non-binary. Again, both girls, one is autistic, the other might be a little bit on the spectrum as well. And she would parade them around the family in hoodies or wearing pins on their clothes with their preferred pronouns. Also took them out of school, homeschooled them for a while in a weird school, and then put them in an LGBT school for queer kids, because apparently they have those. If you don't think that this is happening all over the country with women like this, it is.
I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT.
Okay, bro.
I'm multiply disabled. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder that causes me immense physical pain. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I have narcolepsy, and I couldn't drive myself here, so I had to hide from my driver that I was in drag, which is not an easy thing to do in drag.
Why is it always with the 17 disabilities with these people? And how many of those are self-diagnosed? Let's say this young woman really does have all of these health problems. Isn't that more reason for someone like RFK Jr. to get in there and figure out what the hell is going on? Is it all the vaccines? Is it in the water? Is it all the chemtrails and the heavy metals and the pesticides? We don't know, but we need to figure out what is going on, because a young woman this age should not have 50 fucking health problems. And obviously there's some mental stuff too. I think the narcolepsy is because she probably just doesn't like to drive, probably gets very anxious while driving, doesn't want to leave the house, so that's a good excuse to not have to drive. Being afraid of the Uber driver in the wokest part of Massachusetts hate criming you because you put on a blue wig is retarded, and I feel bad saying that because in this case it might actually be true.
I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I do not want to be in your DMs. I do not want to be in your email inboxes. I do not want my creativity writing diss tracks like Kendrick. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me. I want you to listen to me.
The weird contour makeup, the slam poetry, again, it's millennial theater kids that have ruined the social cohesion of our society.
Let us remember that the Nazis burned the books the Nazis burned books on gender sciences first. Now the administration has villainized and marginalized migrant workers, trans, LGBT people, and even special needs, denying life-saving and affirming care.
If you're going to be reading a pre-written script off of your phone like a teleprompter, I expect less stuttering. Let's check out this guy in the back here doing what I bet was a TikTok live stream, because that's all these activists ever really do. On both the left and the right, they just get all dressed up, they put on their best performance saying a bunch of wild shit they don't really mean to government employees, who also hate their lives, and go home every night to look at that box in the back of the closet after listening to these crazy people scream all day, and they promise themselves that tomorrow will be the day that they finally have the courage to go through with the plan. But yeah, activism and politics are generally just theater and acting for ugly people who don't have any real talent.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking pathetic!
No, we're all done. Come on.
So, I had a lot of friends die too from the heroin epidemic, the fentanyl epidemic, which a lot of people were using heroin and they didn't know that they were getting fentanyl and they died like that. No one's screaming about it. A lot more people too. I'm gonna guess that this Vadelman had a bunch of trans friends. Maybe a few of them died. The thing is, they didn't die from a genocide. They probably didn't die from any hate crimes. It's more than likely self-inflicted. Don't get mad at me. Those are the statistics. It's very sad, but even with all of the acceptance in the world, which the United States and the majority of the West are literally the most accepting places of trans people in the entire world, the statistics have not gone down for trans people unaliving themselves. In many cases, they've actually gone up. So perhaps it's less about how you're being treated in society, it's less about having a safe space and having everyone cater to you and your pronouns and your sense of reality, and maybe it's a little more about all of the underlying issues that go along with gender dysphoria.
Of course, we need to continue celebrating Black History Month because in spite of what's coming down from Washington, we all know that we all exist and we all need to be recognized for our existence.
But be aware that you are a guest in my house when you come. And when you come,
Oh, I'm coming.
know that there are strong queer and trans people in my classroom who will collect you with the quickness.
And I know that this woman was just making another threat, but good for her for being a woman or a they, them of color amongst all of these northern pasty white people. And I can say that because I too am a pasty white, but I'm of the southern variety. Mine is not because I don't leave the house, it's natural, so it's a little less disgusting.
My name in drag is Dee Dee Delight. And my name out of drag is Dewey Cosgrove Atienza.
The whole point of drag was men dressing up as women and doing this raunchy comedic performance. And they used to be very unwoke, and it was fun. Before Sarah started bringing her 7-year-old to the drag brunch so she could post it on TikTok, or Dee Dee here got involved. Imagine paying to go to a drag show, and this girl gets up there in her shakily drawn-on eyebrows, a cheap blue wig, and mime gloves, completely covered up for some reason, and just cries about Donald Trump for 30 minutes.
Laddie LaRouge, he, they, in drag, District 3.
Yeah, another woman dressed badly in drag. Yeah, leave the drag to the men, ladies. None of this. None of this. You'd think women would be better at playing dress up as women, but apparently not.
My legal name is Olivia D'Ambrosio. My public name is Livy Scanlon. My wife and I own a home in the Canal District.
I speak as someone who is always misgendered, like all the time. People refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as ma'am. I speak as someone who is afraid to use public toilets. I speak as someone who is a member of this community and is a queer person.
I don't like all of the weird swaying going on here, but look, bud, I'm sorry, but you need to pass better if you want to be seen as a woman. The bathroom issue really never would have been a problem for trans people if people like this, who were very early on in their transition and are obviously still male, weren't going into women's spaces and freaking people out. And I know, oh, it's only happened a few times. It doesn't matter. The fact that it's suddenly happening is a problem. And look, I'm on the side of what I don't know doesn't hurt me. If there's a trans woman who passes very well going into the bathroom with me and I can't tell, who gives a fuck?
You have to imagine being me and my wife, fearing that our marriage rights will be stripped away at any moment.
No one is taking away gay marriage. It's not even on the table to get cut. No need for the dramatics and the theater kid shit.
Please, I only have so much time. Please, Joe's gonna cut me off.
Which matters more? Covering the legal fees of systemic police brutality or protecting the lives of queer people in our community? How many lives have to be lost before you consider fighting back against fascism and corruption?
Okay, so this gives me a hint at what this is really all about. They want funding for protection of some sort, I assume, which you'd imagine would be some form of security, right? If they feel like their lives are in danger, you'd think that maybe they're urging the city to, like, have more programs and more policing or some form of security for them, but they want to defund the police.
Now is the time to say that if federal money relies on the dehumanization of trans people, that we don't want your goddamn money.
I get that some of you care more about easy funding than trans lives, and don't mind Nazis for some whatever reason, but...
The Nazis, yeah. Oh God, these men. I have no respect for these feminine soy boy beta cucks. These are the people, because I think that most of them, some are gay, okay, but most of the ones like this who claim to be like non-binary, I'm sure that they do, they're just trying to sleep with the women in the room. That's all they want. So they put on this act of being social justice warriors. Men like this creep me the fuck out, and I don't even really want to call them men. By the way, these are the people who want to fight in the cute winter boots revolution. These are the soldiers. It's men like this. That's what you're up against, conservatives. Watch out!
Normally I would say good evening, but through the chair I will only impart my sour grapes.
That was funny.
It's an extremely emotional and taxing thing to stand up here as someone as part of the trans and gender diverse community.
Well, I'm glad that Billy Corgan was able to show up and make an appearance.
My name is Katie. I'm from District 5, and I'm speaking in support of agenda items 10B and 14B. Right now in our country, Trump is threatening the trans and gender diverse community.
There's a whole category of people that are still wearing masks. I get it if you're old, but if you're in your mid-20s, it's only for making a statement. If you're still wearing a mask and you're still freaking out about COVID in 2025, that's very sad.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think that this whole video makes a very good case for what I've been saying for a long time, which is that we need to make asylums great again. And we need to get the toxins out of the food. I think those would be 2 good steps in the right direction for people like this, whose minds have been poisoned by postmodernist culture. In the end, Worcester, Massachusetts. In the end, Worcester, Massachusetts, I think I'm saying that right, did indeed become a sanctuary city for trans people. And this city council meeting took place right after they had just hired their first openly non-binary city council person named Thu Nguyen, or Tu Nguyen. I don't know. It's an Asian name. Which is strange. You don't really see a lot of Asians jumping on this bandwagon. I feel like non-binaryism especially is a uniquely white woman thing, right? And it sometimes spreads out into different categories, but it started with white women, okay? And it's probably going to end with white women. So this non-binary Asian that they elected to be on the city council immediately took a hiatus after being elected, citing that the environment was transphobic. But conveniently, after they passed this bill to make the city a sanctuary city for trans people, Tu Nguyen came back to grace everyone with they/theirs presence. That's hilarious. See, non-binary, which I've thought this whole time, was just a cheat code at life to be lazy. I just wish people had been open about that from the beginning because I would have been for it. Yeah, I'm having a mental health crisis because I heard Stacy used she/her pronouns while talking shit about me behind my back instead of using my preferred they/them pronouns. So I don't think that I can come back to work, but I expect my full salary with benefits. I expect that's how the conversation went between Thu Nguyen, the non-binary Asian, and the rest of the city council. And I'll only come back if the entire city becomes a sanctuary city for trans people. And look, the other lady in the blue wig, she just wants to play dress up and doesn't want to drive. Which is fine. Just be honest about the intentions of what you're doing. If it's to be lazy, okay, like I get that. So the sanctuary status was voted in favor 9-2, but they're worried about local trans organizations losing federal funding. Which, I mean, yeah, if you want these nonprofits for trans people as a local thing, vote on that, raise taxes to fund it, I guess. But why should that come from federal dollars? Why should everyone around the country have to fund it? Because it's clearly something that most people don't want to fund. This goes back to all of the USAID funding nonsense where they were funding all of these non-government organizations or NGOs for trans people and trans youth and all of this other weird shit. So we'll see where this goes, but I support these people being in their own homogenous zones like this. I like this idea. I mean, I think that many of them need serious mental health care, as does most of the country, but in lieu of that, I'm fine with this. If you want to flee your home state because you're so afraid of Orange Man putting you in a camp, then go to Worcester, Massachusetts, or to San Francisco, or wherever. Just don't try to force the rest of the country to conform to the gender ideology that you believe in. That's where the problem came in, and that's why people voted against it. And if San Francisco or Portland or Seattle also want to do something like this, great. Let these places be safe havens for fake trans people who believe that they are being hunted down by a mob of hateful bigots.